Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, here's your host, Brad. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. I'm your host, Brad Wilder. We've got a great show coming up tonight. We're sorry we weren't around last week. Mike will explain that in just a couple of minutes. We're going to play some videos tonight that, things that are in the news. And these particular videos, we're going to cover, Mark Carney, number one. That's a concern for Canada, and at least my opinion, and I think Mike's got the same opinion. We'll find out about that in just a bit. We've got some other videos that talk about some really important topics, and Mike will be discussing, some of the things that happen in the funeral business tonight. So it's all coming up right here on Ask the Funeral Director right after this. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame, 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Welcome back, everyone. Ask the Funeral Director has been off for a week, but we're back. Mike, good to have you.
It was almost like missing
let me turn your mic on. Okay, start again.
It was almost like missing somebody's birthday.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
A week away from the show, and you're feeling a little sad. And then you're getting a bunch of messages from people asking if you're okay, and they're missing the show, and they just can't
and you were okay, right?
Yeah, well, here's what happened. I went to the dentist last week because I had a sore tooth, and then they decided that they were going to do a root canal. But I had an infection in there, so 7 needles later of freezing, I finally said to the doctor, "Oh, stop, I can't take this anymore." And that was that. And, antibiotics for a week, and my tooth's feeling good today, but I couldn't do the show last week. My mouth was like swollen out. My face looked like Brad punched me.
I would never do that, Mike.
Before we get on to some hellos here, I didn't get a chance to do this. My mom's birthday the other day on the 10th, so hey. Happy birthday, Mom, or Helen. And I'm also supposed to mention my aunt, who's in from Greece, who's staying with my mom, and she goes, "Mike, how come you never mention my name? Huh?
She wants
What's it on with me?"
That's right.
Well, Thea Georgia, welcome to Winnipeg, Manitoba, all the way from Greece. Going to see who's on the show first tonight, and on the show tonight was Gord. Hi, Mike and Brad. Never misses a show with that guy. Janet Larson, number 2 from Smithers, BC. Kathy, tickle, tickle, tickle. I can't say her name without doing that. Michelle, hi, Mike, Brad, and everyone else watching from Southeast Winnipeg. Want to go ahead and rate a few?
Yeah, Fernie Coe is
make you part of the show,
Fernie Coe is in from Washington State, down in the U.S. of A. Al Bueller's here with saying good evening, Mike and Brad. Dave Corby's here from, much respect, he says. No place where he's at. We're not sure where he's from.
Debbie, hi guys, gals. Happy hump day, weekend. Ding. She likes when we ring the bell. Al Bueller, where's he been hiding lately? Steve Bage. Steve, you're usually number 1 on the show, right beside Gord.
A little late there, Steve.
Don't know what happened tonight.
What happened, Steve?
Make Mazer, good evening. All tuning in from Roseau River. Wow. Awesome.
There's people from all over the world tuning in.
Dan Ross from, of course, Ross, Manitoba.
Yep.
There's some names you just can't say without,
That's elaborating.
Yeah.
Debbie McKenzie, good evening from Tabor. Southern Alberta, Terry Thiessen is there too, possibly somewhere in around Tabor, maybe Lethbridge, who knows. Debbie Kwan, good evening, everyone. I missed you guys, Michelle says. We missed you too, Michelle. Gymnasium.
Yeah, Michelle, we wish people would miss us more often.
You think is that like an alias for Jim?
I think that's his real name.
Gymnasium?
Yeah.
That's kind of creative. I'm surprised you didn't spell it G-Y-M.
Hi, Patricia, Mike and Brad, Wilder. How'd you ever get a name like Wilder? Like, that's a cool name.
Yeah, I was born with it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Got to thank your mom and dad for that one.
Made that up or what?
Must have been, as you're going through school. Hey, Mr. Wilder.
Happy birthday, Helen. Happy birthday, Helen. Terry Thiessen says that. So do I.
Happy birthday, Mom. Alyssa? Hi from Winnipeg.
Elsie.
Oh, right there wrong.
Elsie.
Dan Ross. Oh, thank goodness.
It was all prayers.
Susan Alec. Good evening, Mike Brad from Wayne and Susan Alec, and to everyone else, happy hump day. Missed you guys. We missed you too. Fernie, happy birthday, Helen. That was my mom's name too. It's my mom's name too. We got a couple really cool videos. Maybe we'll come back to some names in a bit. Ryan and Patricia and Linda and Christine Ross, another Ross. Wow. I wonder
From Manola.
From Manola. Hey, do you two Rosses know each other? And, of course, Randolph and Jeffrey and Mary Lou and a bunch of other people on the show. A lot of people joining us this evening. We're going to cover a bunch of topics. It's going to be a fun show. And we're going to go to our first video right now. And on our first video, we're going to talk about what we've been talking about for a long time. And what's happening is the news is finally verifying what I've been saying the whole time.
Which is?
The crime in Manitoba is out of control. And it seems like we have a bit of a gang war on our hands now.
Gang war. All right, let's find out what this is about. Here we go.
Now from what police, a gang war may be brewing in our city. Standing by with the details is CTV's Alexandra Hollick. Alexandra, what prompted this warning?
A string of shootings, apparently. Police say North District officers responded to 3 incidents in less than 2 weeks. Off the street.
Saying that, we hear that quite a bit.
Isn't it? People can.
You can talk to everybody, though.
Oh, okay.
So talk to them. We'll try to get this working.
Seems like everyone has disappeared today. We also have what else is going to happen on the show today, which is really cool, is we've got some stuff to give away in a little bit, and we're going to pick some numbers. And the stuff we're going to give away, well, nobody can see me because we got something else on the screen right now. No sound at all.
Well, we know that.
Janet says. Can you hear me, Janet? Happy belated birthday, Helen, says Debbie. And yeah, we got some silver to give away tonight, and some recover to give away tonight. So as soon as Brad sound is off completely, says Susan Alec, so he can't even hear me. Can hear you, not the video. Yeah, you can hear me. I'm on there.
Can't hear the video. We know you can't hear the video. We're working on that.
Give me the camera back. I'll pick some numbers here in the meantime while you're doing that.
It doesn't work that way.
Oh, okay.
I got to get in front of the camera, dude. Okay, I'm going to have to go out there and stand in front of it.
Can you have a draw for a free urn or a free casket? Maybe we'll think about doing that. So Canada Nano Silver is going to give away some things tonight. We're going to give away some good, what are these called? Lozenges. Hey. And then Recover. So I tried this a little while ago, this Recover, and I had a sore knee, and I put it on my knee, and within a couple of days the pain was gone. So we're going to give both of these away tonight, and the lucky number is. Well, you're going to have to tell me what the lucky number is while Brad is fixing the background here. I'm looking at the numbers. These two products can either be picked up at Voyage Funeral Home on Henderson and Hespeler, or they can be picked up at the Cork and Flame. It's 1 to 100, Terry Good. Not, there we go. That's better. 51 is not the right number. And we're 14, still not the right number.
Individuals who was
77, nope. Jeffrey says number 10. Al Bueller says 4141. Kathy Tickle, 75. Mike, 16. Justin, 23. Jim, 66. Remember, it's 1 to 100. Michelle, 72. Nope. Dan Ross, 64. Christina Barnes says, hello, everyone. Holly Travis, 22. Nope. Alyssa, 38. Uh-oh, we're running out of numbers. Sherry says, hello, Mike and Brad from Ontario. Danielle ends, 74. Jeffrey's back to number 1. This is going to be a hard one. Mary Lou, 85. Hey, Mary Lou, nice to see you on the screen. Evelyn, number 47. Michelle, number 2. Terry Good, number 1. I could give you a little bit of a hint. It's one of the Winnipeg Jets numbers. Gemma, number 2. Wendy, 96. This is going to make it easier. Patricia says number 12. 66. Who's number 66, Wallace? Remember, it's a Winnipeg Jets number. Heather Toe's number 88. Lulu, number 19. Wendy, number 83. Number 98, Heather says. Wow, we're working our way down here. 69. No, not 69. 43, Justin. Justin Justice. Jeffrey, number 17. Mike, 27. Wow, this is the longest it's taken to figure out a number. Dan Ross, 14. Number 11. Nope. Ryan, 37. Nope. Remember, here's the products that we're giving away as you're doing it. Heather, number 2. No. So these are
syndrome.
Number 81, Ryan. And recovery, number 29. Nope. Here's your 2 products that you could either pick up at the Cork and Flame. 4. No. 2 4s at the same time. Just got in. What's the question? We're picking a number, Char, number 11, to give away 2 products tonight. Holly, 67. No. Wow. I picked a good number. Nobody can get it, and it's giving me time because Brad's working on the background on getting these videos done. 51. No. Number 9. No. 16. Also a big no. 34. Still a no. Number 11. No. Gee, we might have to put this on hold. And we got that working now?
Well, it was actually the video doesn't work.
The video doesn't work?
The video didn't work. The audio on that video of the Winnipeg crime and gang situation didn't
33?
work.
No. Well, we're going to keep looking for those numbers, but we're going to go back to, we got a video.
We got a video to watch. Yeah, we're doing
got a video to watch. Okay, hold on your numbers. Nobody's got it yet. We're going to go to our first video of the night and then come back and do more numbers.
All right, here we go.
The syndrome known as COVID-19 vaccine-induced cardiac arrest. And how this happens is you get injected with mRNA injections. The mRNA travels within lipid nanoparticles to all organ systems, including the heart. And once it's in there, your cardiomyocytes start to produce a spike protein. And also this spike protein is found circulating in the bloodstream, which can also reach the heart. This has seen 600% increased risks of myocarditis after mRNA injections based on the largest COVID-19 vaccine safety study ever conducted with 99 million people in it. So they get myocarditis, have symptoms or no symptoms, and we found that the trigger for this cardiac arrest is usually in the waking morning hours of sleep, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., or during sports or exercise when there's a surge in catecholamines, including dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine.
So cardiac events are known to occur in those 2 settings, right? In that phase of sleep when catecholamines rise, and then, of course, during exercise and exertion, oxygen demands and catecholamines go up. But this doesn't happen in young, healthy people. This happens in either somebody with intrinsic heart disease, often advanced myocardial disease, or very elderly, right?
Right, correct. It's not supposed to be seen in young, healthy adults, the syndrome known as COVID-19 vaccine-induced cardiac arrest. And how this happens is you get injected with mRNA injections. The mRNA travels within lipid nanoparticles to all organ systems, including the heart. And once it's in there, your cardiomyocytes start to produce a spike protein. And also this spike protein is found circulating in the bloodstream, which can also reach the heart. This has seen 600% increased risks of myocarditis after mRNA injections based on the largest COVID-19 vaccine safety study ever conducted with 99 million people in it. So they get myocarditis, have symptoms or no symptoms, and we found that the trigger for this cardiac arrest is usually in the waking morning hours of sleep, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., or during sports or exercise when there's a surge in catecholamines, including dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine.
So cardiac events are known to occur in those two settings, right? In that phase of sleep when catecholamines rise, and then, of course, during exercise and exertion, oxygen demands and catecholamines go up. But this doesn't happen in young, healthy people. This happens in either somebody with intrinsic heart disease, often advanced myocardial disease, or very elderly, right?
Right, correct. It's not supposed to be seen in young, healthy adults, the syndrome known as COVID-19 vaccine-induced cardiac arrest. And how this happens is you get injected with mRNA injections. The mRNA travels within lipid nanoparticles to all organ systems, including the heart. And once it's in there, your cardiomyocytes start to produce a spike protein. And also this spike protein is found circulating in the bloodstream, which can also reach the heart.
All right, there you go. It can also reach the heart.
Myocarditis. Everything we talk about is actually fact. This is something that's happening, and more people are finding about it. Vaccine injuries all over the world, and people are coming out. Doctors are coming out. Everyone's talking about it, and now it's a new topic again. Before it was an old topic. 91 was the number, and Terry's a friend of mine. If you wouldn't have written Terry Good, yeah, you who wrote down 100 numbers, that's cheating, buddy. You can't do that. So we're going to give it to Wendy Gambrell. Hopefully I said that name right. Number 91. So Wendy, you tell us where you want to get these products, and we will have them delivered for you. Who supplies these products?
Canada Nano Silver.
Canada Nano
Of course,
Silver.
Kevin and Ann.
Kevin and Ann. And nice stuff for... So we're going to be giving away some of their products. They're going to give us a whole basket full of their products, and we're going to give a bunch of them away every show.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's going to be something new moving forward.
And we're going to expose some of the great information that goes along with these products.
And we're going to tell you what's in them, what they do, and...
how they can help.
They can help.
How they can help, because
So-
there's lots of help there.
Wendy, you can pick this up at the Cork and Flame. You're going to really like this recovery. Like I said, I use this myself, and it works really, really well. So pick it up at the Cork and Flame or at Voyage Funeral Home. You tell us where you want to come, and we'll have it for you.
All right, moving on to our next video. This is, well, look at that. Little potato, as they say. Here we go. I'm sure he's got something super stellar to tell everyone. He's such a genius.
Putin pretends to be powerful, but truly strong leaders don't assassinate their opponents. Truly strong leaders don't use police and military to oppress people's voices.
So what does this make you?
Truly strong leaders don't use police and military to oppress people's voices. Truly strong leaders don't use police and military to oppress people's voices. Truly strong leaders don't use police and military to oppress people's voices.
Yeah, he's not my leader. Whatever.
Truly strong
He's
leaders.
a clown. I don't even want to play any more of that garbage. He's an idiot.
Hey, you should have finished it.
Nah, that was enough. What's the look at there? That guy's a goof. He's out. We got this other clown in next. We're going to have trouble there too, but nobody wants to hear that in this country. Some think that he's going to be the savior and he's going to be fantastic, and it's far from the truth. This guy is part of the problem, not the solution.
So Mark Carney, the reason we're playing this video is we want you to see that he is clearly part of the World Economic Forum and stands for what the World Economic Forum stands for. So we want to play a little bit of this video so you can clearly see. Get rid of that video. I cannot stand him. None of them are good, for sure. So we'll play we can hit a little bit of that video? Or Okay, so we're going to play a little bit of this video so you can see what Mark Carney is all about. It's only a minute.
I have been talking with Mark Carney for years now.
Mark is a friend of a personal friend of very long standing. He's someone who I talk to often. It's really great for our team to have Mark providing advice to the Liberal Party so that we can support Canada and Canadians.
You're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider. I support the government. I think the government's on the right track. I support the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is going to be the leader of the Liberal Party in the next election, and I support him.
What a putz.
If that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. Almost like he was handpicked to be the Prime Minister. Imagine being a Prime Minister without even having a seat in the House of Commons. That means nothing can get done. Nothing can get done whatsoever. So hopefully they're going to call an election soon, and we, the people, can make a decision.
What you need to understand is that proroguing Parliament like this, what he's done, has caused one good thing to happen, and it came down today when the JCCF basically lost in court. I don't know if you heard this story.
Yeah, I seen it. I read the story, yeah.
Yeah, so that, again, stops a lot of bills, a lot of bad bills that were going to censor guys like us from even doing the show and talking about the topics that we talk about and pick. But now we're relieved of that because prorogation stops.
I think it's terrible when they ban news. You know, like everyone has a right to know the news or choose the news that you want to, watch or listen
100%.
to or get, your information from. Carney handpicked from the World Economic Forum, no doubt about it, Dan. And I believe that's true. And I don't believe he'll be the next Prime Minister. I don't think he will be. And hopefully you, the people, will
he'll be selected but not elected.
He'll be selected, but exactly. And that's a good one, Brad. Selected but not elected.
Ryan came up with that
Ryan,
one.
Good one. I think the next Prime Minister is going to be clear on who that is. But
we should call it the Carney Party, like Wallace says.
What we got to do is we got to get out there and vote. I hate when people complain about what's happening in the world, but then when election day comes, they don't go out and make their choice. And then somebody wins that, you don't want to win, but that's because you did nothing about it. Every vote counts. It's really important on election day to get out there and vote. Look what happened in Winnipeg. Look at the mayor of the city. It's only because people didn't go out and vote. And I want you to know, and this is to be really clear, 15-minute cities are not over yet.
No, not even close.
As a matter of fact, they're doing something in the background right now. Mayor Scott Gillingham and his crew are doing something in the background to bring 15-minute cities back, even though we think we defeated them, but we didn't. Now they have a different name, but the same plan.
I'm just going to make a quick phone call here to the city and find out what time they're stopping by the Cork and Flame tomorrow. Are you guys going to be by to see Mike tomorrow because of this?
Do you know
Just asking.
Every time I say something against the city of Winnipeg, I have a new inspector at the Cork and Flame or at the funeral home giving me some type of new ticket. But
they should send the butthurt inspector down to see you.
But that's not going to stop me. I mean, these inspectors aren't going to stop me from saying what I want to say or what needs to be said and what the truth is. So you know what? We need to speak out and make a difference, and that's why we have voices. And my voice is going to be loud and clear. Yes, you're right, Steve. It is rigged, but hopefully the election won't be rigged.
That's right.
And that's what we need to put a stop to. Big deal. He's elected as the new liberal, leader. That's about all it is.
That's about all
the
it is.
The liberal leader for now. So, like I said, it's us, the people, that can do something about it. Had a fun time at my mom's birthday party, and the best thing about it is hanging out with family. It's so important to hang out with your family because you just never know when you lose a family member. And I think since losing Kyriakis, who was a big part of our lives, I don't know, family gatherings are never really the same. One of your brothers are missing, but you got to respect and enjoy the life that he had here and the life we had with him, and just, respect being with your other family members and share special times with them. And that's what's important. So having my mom's birthday was good. Daryl says, keep speaking the truth, Mike. Yes, every time I speak the truth, I get a kick in the butt. But
that's a true story.
Tomorrow morning they might have a crew of inspectors there.
All right, one more video to go before we get into all the questions that we've got to roll through tonight.
This is a real cool video because people keep asking, what's new in funeral service? What's happening? What can we do with our cremated remains? Well, you got to watch this.
All right, let's do it.
Launching ashes into space is a genius idea. This new burial method, called space burial, has gained popularity in the U.S. When a loved one passes away, their ashes can be carefully placed in a specially designed container. Then, it's launched into space aboard a satellite. The ashes will orbit in space for 10 to 200 years. Meanwhile, there's a thoughtful app designed just for you. Whenever the satellite passes over your location, the app sends a gentle notification. Your loved one is currently flying overhead. Family members on Earth can also track the satellite and send messages, make wishes, or perform memorials. Of course, if launching ashes on a satellite isn't thrilling enough, there's an even more direct option, scattering the ashes directly in space. This method is relatively more affordable. Compared to traditional burials, space burials not only save land resources, but also offer a unique way to provide eternal rest for the departed. Launching ashes into space is a genius idea. This
No,
new
it isn't. No, it isn't. Bill Gates come up with that idea? Is he
I'm
just
not
trying to
too
block the sun again?
It's you know.
Are we allowed to say that on this show?
Dealer, what does
Oh,
he say?
man.
Did you get kicked out? Oh my God. Al. Yeah, I mean, space barrels. Who'd ever think that they would even? I mean, who's going to do that? Nikki Sunshine. I was literally just talking about with a new client a few minutes ago about cremated remains. It's fun to get others' views. It is. And that's what Ask the Funeral Director is a fun show. And there's a lot of people that call me, every day saying, hey, thank you. And maybe not from the province of Manitoba, but other places, saying they've lost a loved one and walking into a funeral home was much easier once they got to watch this show. A lot of people on tonight. We're going to, if you have a question that you want to ask, just throw it on the screen. Brad and I can both see the screen.
Throw it up in the chat, whatever platform you're on. We're on Rumble, we're on X, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. So pick one and
you wouldn't believe how many people talk about the chat, the Ask the Funeral Director chat. People love it, and it's very therapeutic. And you've made friends on here, and we look forward to the day where we can all gather together and meet each other and have fun. And that's
that's something we should talk about because coming up on the 18th or the 17th, there was a deal, the normal monthly get together. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about with
Cohen?
Cohen's
deal.
Cohen's deal.
Cohen, the guy that does the cell phones, gets everybody together. They go to the what's that place on Transcona?
Oh,
Canad Inns.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that's called.
Whatever they call it. But no, we have to have our.
We don't go out very much anymore.
We just so you know, with something's coming up in the near future that we're going to start advertising soon with the Winnipeg Sun. So the Winnipeg Sun is going to be live at the Cork and Flame. It's going to be every Tuesday night, and it's going to kind of be like a dinner.
I don't think it's going to be every Tuesday. I think it's going to be every second Tuesday.
Every second Tuesday. But we'll give you more into it. I'm just letting you know that it's something that's going to be coming up, which is going to be really cool. The Sun, Kevin Klein is going to have a guest on. Kevin Klein and
Hal Anderson.
They're going to have a guest on every time they do a show.
Yep.
And you could be in the audience, and you could be asking questions. And
it's a town hall.
And Brad's going to be doing the setup there and taking care of the sound and all the stuff. And what's your company called, Brad? For people that want to have podcasts or people that want to have commercials made. And
LA Studios. There you go.
I wanted him to say it.
There you go.
So if you ever want to do a podcast, you want to make commercials, you want to do something fun, have Brad come out and do something for you. LA Studios is his company that he works with and owns and does all kinds of cool things with.
All right, let's move on to question number one here
You
tonight.
want to talk about LA Studios?
No, I'm not here for me.
Terry, good. Let me see what Terry said here. Do you offer your clients the ability to donate their pacemakers to a vet? Yes, we do. So just so you know, it's not the client that gives the pacemaker away. It's the funeral home. So when we do cremation, we have to take the pacemaker out. Some funeral homes will tell you it's a surgical procedure to remove that pacemaker, and it's not. I could take a pacemaker out probably in less than a minute, and then what we do with those pacemakers is whatever we want to do with them, and donating them to a hospital for dogs is a great idea. And this way, maybe you could save a dog's life. And we have a whole whack of pacemakers sitting at the crematorium that I would love to donate to a clinic, but a lot of them are not taking them. So, gotta ask yourself why.
Mike, I didn't come up with...
Brad, Daryl says, don't be so bashful. I'm going to have to agree with Daryl on that, Brad.
I'm not.
Easy.
It's all good.
Hey,
listen,
I'm surprised Daryl's awake.
Question number one tonight. I didn't come up with this. and I don't think you came up with this because I don't think either one of us would think of this, but it's kind of a interesting question. Somebody here, let's look at the name. Kathy says, I plan to be cremated at Voyage Funeral Home. Now, is there a job I don't know about? Okay, what happens to my breast implants? Are they removed during embalming or prior to cremation? Kathy wants to know.
Well, Kathy, let's talk about your breast implants and tell you what happens with them after you pass away. So it's a question. It sounds like a crazy question, but it's not. So a lot of people, they come in.
So there is no job?
There is a job.
There is a job.
Some people ask, well, what happens to my breast implants? Are they removed prior to cremation? Are they removed when you're doing an embalming and prepping me for a viewing? So we got to be honest. We don't touch your breast implants. They stay exactly where they are, and they go with you, whether it's with cremation or whether a traditional burial. And there's only one time in the 25 years of my funeral career that somebody's asked me to remove the breast implants. So I had to remove them, and he wanted them back. And it was odd.
He wanted them back,
and I said to him, well, what do you plan on doing with these breast implants that I just took out from your wife who passed away?
Great question.
And he said, well, I'm probably going to give them to my next wife.
All right, there you go.
So Terry says, do the breast implants pop during cremation? No. I've never heard them pop.
You're going to listen now, aren't you?
I'm going to listen.
You're going to pay attention
Next
now.
time I do a cremation where there's breast implants, I'm going to listen for the noise.
I can't believe we're having this conversation.
Well, you know what? It's a family fun show, and
let me see here.
Breast implants are part of people's bodies in some cases.
Real or fake? Real or fake?
Oh my God, that's up to the.
Did they teach you that in school?
No.
To how to determine whether they're real or fake?
No.
Do you have to lift the arm? All right. If my father is not pre-planned at the time of his death, will you still pick him up, or do arrangements need to be made prior to picking up his remains? Shauna's asking.
So, Shauna, a lot of people ask that question too. We'll get a call at 3 a.m. and somebody's died in a care home, and they say, my dad didn't have funeral arrangements, and now he's passed away. Will you still come and get him, or do we have to make funeral arrangements before you come to the care home? So we have Dan Ross meltdown. So we have somebody on call 24 hours a day. So there's a funeral director on call 24 hours a day. So even if you don't,
we sure know how to get viewers, don't we?
Even if you don't have pre-planned funeral arrangements with Voyage, we still come out and take your loved one into our care. We're not going to leave them at the care home and wait for you to come in and do arrangements. We literally send our team out. We take your loved one into our care, and then you can make arrangements the next day, and then your loved one's held in our mortuary facility until you come in and make arrangements, and then we would decide what you want, whether it's cremation or traditional burial. Dee says, definitely an interesting conversation. Who would ever think breast implants would be an interesting conversation?
I never met a pair I didn't like.
Well, there's Brad's sense of humor. It's back.
All right. So Tina now wants to know, I was watching a YouTube video about embalming, and a fun fact popped up on the screen saying that only 50% of mortuary science students go on to become licensed embalmers. Is that true, and if so, why?
It's funny. It's a true story. When I went to school, or when Jenny went to school who was the last one who completed mortuary school, let's just say the class had 20 people in it, people that want to be either funeral directors or licensed morticians. You can get 2 licenses. You could be a funeral director, or you can get a license to be a mortician, or you can get a license to do both. So they say if your class starts out with 20 people, there's only 4 or 5 people that will graduate. The rest will quit. So more than 50% of people that get into mortuary school decide that it's not a career for them. And that's why I always tell people that phone me and say, well, what's it like to be a funeral director? What's an average day in a funeral home? I always say, shadow a funeral director. Hang out with a funeral director for a day.
You didn't just say that name, did you?
Can't believe I just said that name. Shadow a funeral director. Follow a funeral director. Let's change it. Follow a funeral director for the day and see what they do. And see if their job is interesting and if it's something that you want to do. A lot of people get in the mortuary school and they realize this is the furthest thing from what they really want to do, because it's glamorous. People see you in suits and driving expensive, Cadillacs and Mercedes Benzes or whatever the funeral home has, nice suits, and they think that's what your job is, standing around with nice suits and driving nice cars and having that image.
It's not?
It's the furthest thing from that. What happens in the background of a funeral home?
That's all I've been doing since I started working for you.
But you're not a mortician, and you're not a licensed funeral director. So the people that do that are, it's what goes on behind the scenes that's important. They have to be strong and have loving hearts, funeral directors do. Daryl says, yeah, no, you know that word there.
Yeah, we know that word there. All right. This next one comes from none other than Laverne. She says, in cases of direct cremation, does the funeral home bring the body into the funeral home to notate any scars or cuts on the deceased, or do they bring them straight to the crematory from the pickup location? So this is somebody who's already been turned to ash.
No.
No?
So basically what they're asking there is if we bring their loved one to the funeral home and if we make notes. So when we bring someone to the funeral home for an embalming, as the embalmer is doing his embalming, prior to his embalming, we make notes of scars, tattoos, anything on the body that we notice. We'll make notes and mark it on our embalming sheets. When a person is going in for simple cremation, they barely ever come to the funeral home unless there's a viewing that takes place. They go directly to the crematorium. And what do we do at the crematorium? So everyone's in a shroud. That's like a plastic kind of a bag that's wrapped over you. And basically what we do is we rip open the bag and we check the fingers and we check the toes and we check the neck to make sure there's no jewelry. Because people have jewelry everywhere these days. So we check for jewelry and then we make notes of rings and take them off, or bracelets, or whatever the case may be. So that's the only time we see the body when it's going directly to the crematorium. So we never mark scars or bruising or any of that kind of stuff down.
So Mary Lou had a great comment. Can you just scroll up a bit? Just a little bit, not far. There you go. Brad, you have the neatest job driving the hearse. You know what the best part about driving the hearse is? I get to a red light and I see somebody either sitting at a bus stop or standing on the corner, and I look at them and I go, "You're next." That's funny to me.
It's a joke.
It is. Just kidding.
Just
Why
remember,
would I do that?
When you're driving the hearse, it's probably the most respectful job that you can ever have.
That's right.
And Brad's right about one thing. People stare at you when you're driving a hearse.
Yeah, it's like all eyes are on that car, and I'm like, what are you looking at me for?
And the funny thing is, when you drive a hearse, you need to look just straight ahead because everyone's staring at you, right? And you need to be that dignified, compassionate, caring kind of individual. And do you ever look over at anyone?
No, I got the radio cranked. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
And just so you know, he can't crank the radio in the hearse because we take the radio out of the hearse.
That's right.
So we want it to be a peaceful ride for that deceased all the way, even though the soul's not there, but it's still the whole purpose of it all, being dignified and caring and respectful. So we made sure we disconnect, and it sounds funny, but it's true. We disconnect the radio in the hearse. So you can't have no music cranked. Because you know what? There'd be some guy driving a hearse, cranking his...
I always ask, I say, hey, do you want to hear some rock and roll before we go? Or no.
John's going, what's up with, I don't know. We don't know.
We have no idea.
We have no idea, John. Can't answer that question.
Don't know.
And Jim says, I love a hearse. Yes, hearses are pretty amazing. We have a few of them. And I'm thinking of purchasing an older hearse for the funeral home, like something really
like
old.
A 68
like
caddy
a classic.
hearse.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Randolph wants
Laura's
68.
back on the breast thing again. Speaking of breasts, how do you get them in place for viewing? When laying them down, the boobage likes to go to the sides. Okay. So I'll answer that question too. So when a person's deceased, that really doesn't happen. So the things you're talking about,
everything hardens.
Don't really go to the sides. After embalming, we set the features, including these features, and everything is where it's supposed to be. So can't believe we're talking about this tonight. But if you have an open kind of a sweater or a top, everything looks like it's in place.
Does it sound like two balloons rubbing together?
Oh, man. And this is why you got to share and follow the show and let people know, because people go, I don't want to watch a funeral director show. That's morbid. Well, this show is the furthest thing from morbid that you can ever watch. And there's Brad laughing in the background like crazy. He's actually crying. He's laughing so hard.
That's too funny.
It's very good. I'm sure he pokes them in place with a stick.
Hey, you. Okay, when a person passes away in hospital or is brought into an emergency room and dies, what happens to their personal belongings, their watch, their rings, their jewelry, their money, their clothing, etc.? Curious George wants to know.
I haven't heard from Curious George in a long time.
While.
Good question. Another question we get asked all the time is, so my loved one dies in a motor vehicle accident. They're transported to the hospital. They have a ring on, a watch on, they have jewelry, they have money in their pocket, they have clothing that we want back. What happens to all that stuff? So when you're transported to a hospital, prior to an autopsy or prior to being shrouded, they'll either make notes of what you have on as far as jewelry. They usually take that and it goes to security. So then the funeral home or the family would go to security and get everything that's been documented. The rings, the jewelry, the money, and in many cases, clothing. People want the leather jacket back or the boots or whatever else may happen. So your stuff's in a really good spot. It's in the hospital. And a lot of times the funeral home will take it for you. And then when you come in to make arrangements, we'll hand you a package. Can you take the camera over?
So you get everything back then, and everything's going to be fine for your loved one, and you get exactly what they had with them and on them and everything else. So they're taken care of, and so are you for that matter. You can be rest assured that you're getting the things that matter the most.
I want to share a quick story with you. So there was a family that had come into the funeral home, and I'll never forget this. It's clear in my mind as daylight. The family came in and was really struggling financially, to the point where they didn't know how they were going to pay for the funeral. They knew what their father wanted. They knew what church he wanted to be at. They knew what kind of casket he wanted, but they didn't have the funds, and my heart was kind of broken for them. And then they said, look, we need to go home, and we need to think about, how we're going to do this, and we may have to opt for cremation because that's all we can really afford.
Right.
So my heart was broken for this family. They left the clothing behind that they wanted, their father to wear. So after they left, the next day I went into the back, and we use a steamer to make sure there's no wrinkles in the shirt or tie or suits. And as I was doing that, I noticed something in the person's pocket, and I reach in there, and there was $10,000 in cash.
Wow.
So I look at this money, and it's got $10,000 written on the last bill. I run to the phone and I phone the family, and the family is heartbroken. They're sad. They've lost a loved one, and I go, I got some great news for you. And they're probably thinking, what good does this guy have to say to us? And I said to them, I found $10,000 in your dad's pocket, the suit that he wanted to wear. He left that money in there so you could pay for funeral expenses.
Unbelievable.
And that's the difference. Honest funeral director, right? And, could have that money gone missing if it was somewhere else, or if someone else taken it, or if you taken it to the dry cleaners, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying people are crooked. I'm just saying I was able to give this family $10,000 back that was in his pocket that he obviously put there to pay for his funeral. What's Al Bueller saying about you?
Oh, he's just talking about a song by Queen. Another one bites the dust. Crank it up in the hearse when I'm driving.
Doom. Another one bites the dust. Hey!
That's right. Lana wants to know, my mother is in devastating pain to the point that medication is no longer able to help her. She says that she's decided to enroll in the MAID program. Lana says, I'm not happy with her decision, although it's her choice. Now, where do MAID programs take place?
MAID programs or MAID programs?
MAID programs. Sorry.
So it's funny how that works.
And how does the funeral home get involved as part A?
Okay. So a MAID program takes place where you want it to take place. So we've been, when somebody opts out to take MAID, MAID could be done in your home. It could be done in a care home. It could be done at the funeral home. There's so many places that you could do MAID. How does the funeral home get involved? Usually you would phone the funeral home ahead of time. And you would say that, my mom or dad or loved one has decided to be part of the MAID program. Because it's the MAID program, it's set on a special date. So let's just say on the 20th of March, the funeral home would be alerted of that. We would show up at the place where the MAID program will take place. And literally, minutes after the death takes place, the funeral home comes and takes your loved one away into our care. And it's a surreal experience because, a minute ago you were talking to your loved one And then all of a sudden they're gone, just like that. And then there's a funeral home knocking on your door to take your loved one into their care. So that's how you get a funeral home involved. It's something that's pre-done and pre-arranged, so we know what's going on, what's going to take place. And a lot of times we do the paperwork ahead of time too. And I know we're going to get all kinds of comments
I
on
was just
MAID,
about to talk about that.
We'll go to B first here and see what the second part of this question
Would you
is.
care to voice your opinion on the MAID program?
So Lana, I can give you my opinion on the MAID program. I'm not for the MAID program because I don't like where the MAID program is going. The MAID program was simply there for people that's right. That's exactly how many people use the MAID, Michelle. It's in the thousands. So the MAID program was made for people that are struggling with a pain that's so powerful and so strong that they feel every inch of that pain in their body all the time because no medication will help them. So I was okay with that, but you got to put yourself into somebody's body, or you got to think about yourself being in devastating pain and you can't live anymore. There's not a day of comfort in your life. It's pain and agony 24 hours a day. So then you got to think to yourself, is the MAID program okay if I'm going to go through that? Well, a lot of times there is no better days. That's what you got to live with. That's what the cards you're dealt with. So until you're in somebody's shoes, you can't judge what they're doing. Is it okay in God's eyes, a lot of people say. Well, I have my opinion on that too. But the bottom line is, because we do so many MAID programs, and people say, wow, you're a bad guy because you're taking part in the MAID programs. No, I'm a funeral director, and I'm honoring families' wishes. So if somebody decides that they want to do the MAID program, as a funeral director, it's no different than any other death for us. We go there, we take care of your loved one, and that's what our priority is to take care of your loved one after death. And I think we got to remember that we have a loving and caring and forgiving God.
I think Diane said it clearly, and this is how I would feel. Exactly. Terminal patients, not mentally depressed patients.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next topic here. I don't believe that mentally ill patients should be able to get the MAID program, and I don't believe any child at the age of 13, which is their plan next, should be able to walk into a MAID office and take their life because they feel they're depressed or they're struggling. So the MAID program has gone totally in the wrong direction, if you ask me. Terminally ill patients, I can honestly respect why they're taking it and what they're doing. And, you know, I could share a story about the MAID program, which I think you'll find very interesting, and I will. I did arrangements for a lady one time. She was under 40, and as I was doing arrangements with her, she never mentioned anything about MAID. She did mention that she was, going through cancer, and she was going through pain every second of the day. Even when she was doing arrangements, she would break out crying because of the pain she was going through. So the next day I got a phone call from this lady, and she said to me, Mike, I don't have family. I don't have a mom or dad here. I don't have brothers or sisters, and I really don't have friends. And I don't have anybody to be in a room with me that day when I'm going to take the MAID program. And this happened at a local hospital on Portage Avenue. She said, would you be there for me and hold my hand as I leave this world? And it was an overwhelming thought and decision that I had to make, to be in that room with this lady that I didn't know very well. But she asked, and you know what they say, ask and you shall receive. So I went into that room and I held this lady's hand. And they went through the MAID program procedure, which is really 3 injections that they do that make this whole thing happen. The first one, it kind of puts your body in a drunken mode where you're feeling really good and nothing's really bothering you. And I remember her staring at me in the eyes and her hand holding me really tight. And the second one puts you in a coma. So you don't feel anything. You're in a coma. Her eyes were still locked on mine, and her hand squeezing me was pretty hard. And the third one was when it shuts off your heart. And when they injected her with that third needle, her hand instantly let go of mine. And it was done. A minute ago I was talking to this beautiful young person who had to leave this world because she couldn't deal with the pain that she was in, and there was no compassion there whatsoever. A minute later, the nurse says to me, okay, get her off the table and onto your stretcher. We need this room. And I was so overwhelmed with emotions that were going through my body. And then to take this person onto my stretcher, and I was there by myself that day. And then I put her on my stretcher, and when I got into the van, I just broke out in tears because it was so surreal to see this happen. And, you know, when you talk to people about this, they say, well, that's suicide. Well, call it whatever you want. This person was in pain. And like I say, we have a loving, caring God that we're not here to judge. And, you know, what their decision is their decision.
Just curious, does MAID still qualify you to have, you know, insurance?
So,
death
you know,
insurance?
I've never seen, so in death insurance, they have something about suicide in there.
But wait a minute now, this is not suicide, is it?
But how does the insurance company look at it?
That's
the
correct.
question.
That's what I'm asking you.
So
yeah.
I've never, murder's murder, Michelle says. And yes, you are. I mean, they say in the future that they're going to ask funeral directors to give people, be part of the MAID program as far as taking back anyone with anything that will take their life. And that's just something that I won't do from my heart. Other funeral directors may be open to doing this and being part of the MAID program, but that won't be me. And you know, I can't say what insurance companies do because I really don't know. Right. But I know there's been families that have been turned down. You know, let's just say there's a clause in there for a year that you can't commit suicide or take your own life, and people have taken their life before that year and then denied insurance. So I'm not too sure how it would work with the MAID program. I got a funny feeling that you would be, you know, rejected for insurance.
Right.
That would be my opinion. Whole bunch of comments on there when it comes to MAID. MAID is a really, really hot topic. It's a topic that's just on fire because a lot of people are 100% against it. And some people say, no, if you could put your dog to sleep, then you could put a human to sleep. Why don't we let dogs suffer or cats or whatever? And we could put them to sleep and nobody questions it. So why do we let humans suffer? It's a good question.
It really is, and it needs debate.
And the debate about it is, if it was your mom or dad, and they were in devastating pain to the point where they couldn't even talk to you because they're screaming and they can't sleep and they're just always in chronic pain, what would you do? You never know until you're in that position or situation to make that decision. So I'm gonna say that I'm neutral about it. I mean, I have my own feelings about it. Do I like it? No, I don't like where MAID's going. I don't like where it's gonna definitely go in the future. And I think we should put a stop to MAID when it comes to, you know, I mean, how fair is it that if you're mentally ill, you can't live in this world? If you can't afford to live in this world, that means you got to take your life. Life shouldn't be about money. Life shouldn't be the judge whether you live or die.
That's right.
That's my thought on that.
It's amazing the things that we discuss on this show.
But they're true, you know, they're true topics. This is stuff that happens every day of the week. I can't even tell you how many MAID programs we've done in the last 2 weeks. It is a lot. And we never pass our opinion. We go there, we're compassionate, we're caring, and we do our jobs. And you got to feel for the family too, because they're going through a lot of pain. A lot of families are not on board with the decision that their loved one made. But now they got to deal with it. Jeff says, it says in the Bible, dogs shall not kill. Dogs shall not kill. I think he put some. Daryl says, I believe when you take your own life, you jeopardize your way into the next life.
Some people do believe that.
Yeah, and you know what? I definitely believe in life after death, and it's the biggest part of my life is having a Christian heart, and those are some of the things you got to think about, right?
All right, moving on. Question from Suzanne.
What's the matter? You don't want to get into the debate online
no,
here
I
where
think
it talks about all these things?
I think we should leave them to do that themselves. And
you guys fight with each other. We'll be back.
Yeah. What legal documents are required to arrange a funeral in the province of Manitoba, Suzanne says?
So, Suzanne, when you come to the funeral home, we usually ask you this ahead of time. So you need to bring a social insurance number in. And the reason for that is that social insurance number allows us to register the death with the government. Of course, the person's name, middle name, last name, both parents' names. So we ask for the mother and father's names, their birthplaces. And the big one is the mother's maiden name. So it's good to get all this information ahead of time. And then we ask normal things like, you know, addresses and finally go through the arrangements. But those are the main things we ask that people need to know. Social insurance number, parents' names, parents' maiden names, and where the parents were born. And if you get things wrong on there, there's a $75 charge for vital statistics for putting wrong information on that sheet. So you could go on our website, voyagefuneralhomes.com, and you can get a Wishes and Memories book for absolutely free. And you could pre-fill all this stuff out. As a matter of fact, it even has a family tree on there, which allows you to find out all this information, because some people just don't know. especially somebody who's in their, who's dying in their 90s, and then you're asking who their mom or dad was and where they were born. And people are, I don't know, that was 100 years ago.
I noticed the question. Just scroll back up again on the comments because I think this is something we should quickly
You
touch
actually
on.
read the comments, Brad?
Slowly but surely. I heard the first injection paralyzes you and the second shuts down organs and the person ultimately drowns. Is that true? And I'm thinking, just keep going there, scroll down a bit more. I'm thinking that I will pass on this type of compassion.
From what I understand, there's no drowning that takes place during the MAPE.
No way?
No.
There's been a little bit of talk about that.
There's
like
talk.
I've
looked into it, and there's no drowning that takes place. You don't drown. It's basically shutting off your heart. So it is three shots that you get, and of course it does take your life. But I've never heard somebody gurgling as
We're
they're
not
doing
talking
it.
about a drowning like
no,
where your lungs are filling
no.
up with your own fluid, right?
No, I mean they're basically shutting off your heart.
All right,
it's a very quick. It's a very, very quick death.
So Brenda needs to know, what happens if someone dies without a will or a pre-arrangement if you don't have a package?
So having a will and pre-arrangements are probably the most important things that you could do. If you have somebody in the hospital who's ill, or somebody is at home who's ill, and death is going to happen eventually, what you want to do is make sure you have a few things in place. So I'm going to tell you what these things are to make your life a little easier. One thing you need to do is have a will in place. A will is the most important piece of paper you can ever have. If you don't have a will, get a will. Then a power of attorney. Power of attorney speaks on your behalf. So think about the power that you're giving this person. The power of attorney speaks on your behalf while you're alive. They could do things like sell your car, sell your house, go into your bank account. So you really need to trust the power of attorney. And then once the power of attorney is done, then the executor takes over, and they make decisions on your behalf too. But this is the most important thing. When you die, the first thing a bank does is seize your bank account. And that puts a lot of families into a big mess because that bank account is what pays the bills. That bank account is what buys groceries and feeds the kids and, all that kind of stuff. So if you don't have somebody on your account with you, a joint account, that account is frozen. So if you trust somebody, what you should do is have somebody on your bank account with you. And then it's business as usual. If you have a will, an estate account is opened up, and eventually you can get into that account dealing with things of the estate because you have a will. So get a will, a power of attorney, get an executor, a directive to doctors if you want, put somebody in your bank account, and most of all, let people know what you want for your final wishes. Talk about it. I know it's a taboo thing to talk about, but it might surprise you, the answers that you'll get when somebody tells you what they want.
Do it right. Don't do it later. All right, my dad George is in palliative care struggling with stage 4 cancer. This is coming from George Jr. He does not have much money. His wishes are to have a full traditional service in his Catholic church, followed by cremation. My father has watched your show and admires you and will watch your show again tonight. Can you please advise us and him and our family on the best option that's affordable for George?
Well, George, as you're in palliative care and you're watching the show, thank you for watching the show. Sorry you're going through what you're going through. We'll try and make it as easy as we can for you. So we do, if you're struggling, the most terrible thing that can happen is you're laying, on your deathbed really, and you're thinking about how you're going to pay for your funeral service. That plays on your emotions a lot because you know that if you don't do this, your family has to do it for you. So here's what you can do. We have a package at Voyage Funeral Home, George, that will really help your family out. It's $5,900, and it's basically, it includes your casket, it includes the viewing, it includes the embalming, the picking up from the place of death, all your death certificates, your Canada pension forms, the reception area, coffee, tea, and juice, and then the cremation afterwards with the cremation casket. That's everything complete. This package could cost up to $15,000 at other funeral homes. So at Voyage Funeral Home, that's $5,900. It gives you a complete service. You don't have to buy a casket. We include a rental casket in there for you. And there's no hidden costs or no surprises. So I hope that can help you out. Another option is if you don't have funds, if you don't have a house, if you don't have a car, you don't have money in your bank account, we will help you pay for the funeral service through social assistance, who a lot of times will step in for families that are struggling with cancers and are struggling with end of life and don't have a lot of money because everything they've gone through and the last little while has really drained their bank accounts. So George, get George Jr. to call me, and I will guide him and help him into how we can help you and make this easier for you and your family at the time of, the time where you need us most.
Well, Mike, we are almost out of time, but maybe one more quick question before we go tonight. Tammy and Chris have a good one. What's the most affordable way for a husband and wife to pre-plan their final arrangements on a very tight budget? We'd like to avoid our kids being taken advantage of at the time of our passing.
So, we have a really good package, actually. It's called First to Go. And what you could do is you could come into the funeral home. This is a great way to do it if you're struggling with finances. And a lot of people these days, because of the Trudeau government, are really struggling with finances. And it's tough to move on. It's tough to buy groceries. It's more, I went to the store the other day. You spend $100 and you walk out with a few things in a bag. And for the elderly folks out there, it's a struggle right now, especially with kids that have families. If you've got somebody going through hockey or sports, it's even more expensive. It's really tough out there to raise a family. So if you're a couple who wants to pre-plan, wants to take the burden off the family's shoulder, because pre-planning is a gift of love, believe it or not. You're taking that whole burden off the family and taking care of it before you die and letting everyone know your wishes. So you could come into Voyage and buy a plan called First to Go, and basically that's exactly what it is. The first person to go gets to use this plan. So 2 people are pre-planned for the price of 1. So when the one passes away, you got to come in and do the other one. But at least if something was to happen, you're both pre-planned and you're there, you're covered, and your kids don't have to worry about it. Another edition of Ask the Funeral Director, and it went way off topic tonight. We had some fun, and Brad went off topic tonight.
Sorry.
But it was a great show. Please like, share, and follow the show. It's getting bigger and better, and we got more and more fun things happening for you. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. If it wasn't for you, the show wouldn't be possible. Thank you again for tuning in. God bless you and your families. Take care of yourselves and each other. Brad, the best of luck in the playoffs.
Thanks, buddy. We're going to go take it out tomorrow night. Good night,
Take care
everybody.
of yourselves. Good night.